I've been in the ER for about almost 5 hours now. I have another blood clot, DVT, in my arm where my PICC line is.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
And the pain for several days, it's been getting worse and worse. Today's Sunday. Since Wednesday it was like really bad, and then today all day it was like severe. It was like an 8 out of 10, and throughout the day it just got worse and worse, and then like by nighttime it started radiating up to my shoulder and chest. And so my palliative nurse said, I called her and she was like, yeah, go straight to the ER. And actually my hematologist told me to come into the ER on Thursday when I told her that it was, you know, hurting a lot and that I was having low-grade fevers on and off. But I didn't come in, you know, being high risk, and I just didn't want to risk it. So, but here I am. Like I said, the pain got worse earlier. It's almost 1 in the morning now. I came here like about 8 or 9. I actually came with 2 masks. 1, 2. I'm just not wearing it now because nobody's in the room. But of course, as soon as I hear someone coming in, I put them back on. So yeah, I had an ultrasound that confirmed the blood clot, and then I had a CT scan with contrast, which is so much fun. I overheated from the contrast dye, which is normal, but it was like worse than usual. I think he said because he pushed it in kind of fast. I'm so tired, I just lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Yeah, I had the CT scan to see if like the blood clot like got lodged into my chest, or like if I had more blood clots. And the good news is I do not have more, I just have the 1 blood clot. Thank God. I never thought I would be so thankful for having 1 blood clot, but it could always be worse. So I'm very grateful that I don't have more than 1, and that I don't think I have sepsis. The doctor thinks I don't have sepsis, but I'm pretty sure he took my blood for some cultures to see, just to check. I'm gonna ask about that. And yeah, I'm just getting my fluids. I came in hooked up to my IV. After I finished my own IV, they hooked me up to theirs. So yeah, got my oxygen on 3 liters per minute, and which, you know, I absolutely need, especially when I'm wearing the masks. I can't breathe without the oxygen. It's been rough with this mast cell flare-up, and then the blood clot. It's been so rough, but anyway, that's my update for now. I'll check in a little bit when I know some more. I don't really know what's going on as of now. I know they tried to contact my hematologist about for a plan of action, but since it's like the middle of the night on a Sunday, of course she didn't answer. But I will, you know, I'm sure she'll call me tomorrow. So yeah, I will check in a little bit. My blood pressure, I don't know if you can see, it's been really high. The nurse asked, like, is that normal for you? Sorry, my hands are shaky. Super shaky hands for some reason. My blood sugar is probably low, and I think that's why I'm so shaky, because I haven't ate in a while. But yeah. Hi y'all, I am home from the hospital, yay! I have actually just been resting for a couple of days. It's been like, I think 2 days since I've been out of the hospital now. So since I last vlogged on the 4th in the ER, a lot went down. I started to have really bad reaction to the Eliquis that the ER doctor had put me on. So I was already on Lovenox for the blood clot, Lovenox shots twice a day, but for whatever reason he switched me to Eliquis. And he put me on 10 milligrams twice a day for a week, and then I was supposed to go down to 5 milligrams twice a day, which is what I was on last year when I was on Eliquis for 3 months for the DVT that I had last year. So anyway, I don't know if I had started out with 10 milligrams last year as well, but I remember being on 5 milligrams twice a day. But anyway, almost as soon as he put me on the Eliquis, like within hours, I started to feel really short of breath, even on 3 liters per minute of oxygen. I was like, my chest had got really tight and painful, and my breathing was just really labored, and my O2 kept dropping like to the 80s. The nurses just kept running back because if it wasn't one thing, it was another. It was my O2 dropping, my blood pressure was extremely high, my heart rate was high. So my vitals were just really unstable. And I was also starting to get more dehydrated because I was puking from the pain meds. So I was first given Toradol for the severe pain in my arm, which was radiating to my chest. And then the Toradol wasn't enough, so they gave me morphine. They gave me IV Toradol and then IV morphine. And even that, like even between the two, I was still in a lot of pain, but then I was also puking from all of the pain meds. So I mean, I was throwing up a lot, and not all at once. It was like really, it was a struggle, let's just say. And of course, Zofran wasn't helping. Like usual, when I'm that nauseated, nothing helps. So I was really dehydrated, despite, I think by that point I had already had like 4 liters of IV fluids. I was just really sick. The nurse was so concerned about my vitals, and she called the doctor in, and they decided that they were gonna admit me because my vitals were so unstable. And on top of that, my white blood cell count was really high. For me, it was like 8 point something. It was almost 9. And for me, that's high because I generally run around 3 or even below, which is really low, but that's because I've struggled with neutropenia for years, which is a severely low white blood cell count. That's because I am immunocompromised from my mycotoxin disease. So I have had that struggle for many years. So my white blood cell count is always around the 3 or 2 mark. So even though that's abnormal for most people, that's normal for me. So when they saw that my white blood cell count was so high for me, they were concerned that I had some kind of infection. They drew some blood cultures for sepsis, which a couple days later came back negative. Thankfully, I didn't have sepsis. And they treated me as if it was a upper respiratory infection. They thought that maybe that's what I had. And they did I think I mentioned they did a CT scan of my chest, and luckily I have no PE. The first CT scan showed no pulmonary embolism, which means the blood clot didn't move to my lungs, thankfully. So that was good. But I just really wasn't stable with my vitals, and my oxygen and blood pressure. Everything was really, really bad. And I was throwing up, so it was just a really rough night. I was not able to pick up the phone and vlog again after the last time I had vlogged. So, and from that point on, things just got worse and worse. For 3 days, my symptoms were getting worse. So they were wondering why my pain was getting worse instead of better, even though I didn't have the blood clot in my lungs. My chest pain was getting worse. So, my gut instinct told me it was from the Eliquis, and my mom had the same intuition. But when we tried to tell the doctor, like, he wasn't listening. He was like, oh, it's probably pleurisy. And I've had pleurisy pain before, and let me tell you, this was not pleurisy pain. Pleurisy pain is like totally different. It's like a stabbing pain that gets worse when you move. It basically feels like a really bad muscle cramp, like a bad Charlie horse. This was not changing depending on how I moved. It just stayed the same, and it was directly in the middle of my chest. It was not like a sharp pain. It was like a really, really severe dull pain, and it was not pleurisy pain. I just knew that. So, and not only that, but my breathing was so labored. It literally felt like I had an elephant on my chest, and it was not like the normal POTS chest pain that I get from my postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, but it was like a severe chest pain to the point that I could hardly speak. Even though I was on oxygen, my breathing was still labored. At this point, my mom called for help. They rushed me back to the OR. They had thought that I had a PE again. At this point, they thought a piece of the blood clot from my arm had got lodged to my chest. So let me just show you where my blood clot, it's right next to my PICC line. It's like right above. Thankfully, it's a non-occlusive blood clot, so it's not that big. It's not big enough to cover the catheter inside of my vein. So I'm still able to run my daily IV fluids, and I'm able to use my PICC line, thankfully. Counting my blessings here. So yeah, even though they found out that I didn't have the blood clot, they were wondering why my pain was worse. So they actually did a second CT angio on my chest because they thought that maybe a piece of the blood clot actually had gotten lodged since the last CT scan. By this point, it was the 7th. It was Wednesday the 7th when I had my second CT scan. They called a code blue. They had like a bunch of people rushing back, and they like, apparently I had lost consciousness briefly, and I guess they got concerned and they did like a repeat ECG, which was abnormal. I have to talk to my cardiologist about it on Friday. I have my video appointment with my cardiologist, so I'm going to talk about my abnormal ECG and like everything that happened. So basically I had a cardiac arrest, which this is not my first time having a cardiac arrest, but it was my first time having it in the hospital. Which is a good thing because they were right there. They, you know, everything was under control. They were able to stabilize me pretty quickly. But they did have to pound on my chest really, really hard. I felt like they were punching on my chest. Like when I woke up, I had such bad pain in my chest. It was like already really bad. And then at this point, it was so bad, guys. It was unreal how bad it was. But I guess they had to do that to get the blood flowing to my chest or something. I'm really not sure, to be honest. I'm still having pain from that. Thankfully not the chest pain and the breathing issues that I was having before, but I have the chest pain from them pounding on my chest so hard. If I have to pause for just to catch my breath, I'm sorry. I'm still pretty short of breath, even though I'm still on my oxygen. It has gotten better, thankfully. Yeah, they determined it was pleurisy. Like I said, I know it wasn't pleurisy. I really believe in my heart and in my gut that it was from the Eliquis. So I talked to my hematologist about this, and she decided to switch me back to Lovenox. So because she actually wanted to put me on Xarelto, but I had looked up the side effects of Xarelto and those were like the same. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to stick with Lovenox because I've never had a bad reaction to Lovenox. So I think that's what I should stick with, and she agreed, thankfully. Even though it sucks to have to do shots twice a day, you know, have bruises all over my stomach, like I still... They're getting a little better since I've taken a break from the shots from the Eliquis, since I've been on the Eliquis for a week. But now I'm switching back to Lovenox, so I'm really happy about that because that was a really scary reaction. My mom and I were both really scared. I mean, I have never felt that much pain, and I've never had such trouble breathing while on oxygen. And to see my, you know, my vitals just so bad, it was really scary. I mean, my vitals are always bad because of POTS, but that was worse than POTS vitals. But thankfully, they got the situation under control very quickly and stabilized me quickly. And then pretty much like within a few hours of being stable, they discharged me, which we were all really surprised by. But because my white blood cell count was back in normal ranges, they discharged me, which was, like I said, it came as a surprise, but we were so happy. And then I got home and just like crashed and have been to sleep for the last 2 days. So, which is really good because I really needed the sleep, because for the few nights that I was on Eliquis, I was not sleeping. Like, I don't know what it is about Eliquis that makes my insomnia really bad. Generally, I'm so tired that even with my pain, I'm able to sleep, but my pain was just so bad that with the Eliquis, I wasn't able to sleep. And I was having horrible night sweats every night, like drenched in sweat, having to change my clothes, and just all the sheets were like drenched, and I was having to put a towel on the pillow because the pillow would be drenched, and my hair, just everything. So I am so grateful to be off the Eliquis, and even though I'm still very short of breath, That could just be because of the mycotoxin disease and asthma. You know, I always have a lot of inflammation from that anyways, so I hopefully will be talking to my immunologist soon about my repeat blood results. He had to recheck my kidneys and liver to see if they were healthy enough to handle the treatment for the asthma and mast cell disease, which is Xolair injections twice a month. So fingers crossed I got approved for that. I can't wait to hear from that. I should be talking to him next week. Today is Friday. Hopefully by Monday I'll hear from them. If not, I'll call them on Monday. But yeah, I'm just so grateful to be home. God is so good, guys. I really thought I was going to lose my life that day. It was really scary. But I honestly felt his spirit. I felt his presence more than I have ever felt it in my life that day. And God knows that I needed it. I needed to feel his peace that day, and it helped me so much. It made me feel so rejuvenated. And even though I feel terrible physically, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm just focused on how good I feel spiritually, mentally. That's what's carrying me through this fight. And of course, my loved ones. And I'm so grateful to everyone who prayed for me, guys. Seriously, thank you. If you prayed for me, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me and my family. It really means so much to us. So thank you so much. God bless you. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for your prayers, because prayers are so powerful. And I don't know if I'd be here if it wasn't for all the prayers. And it means the world to me. So thank you, guys. I love you to pieces. And I will film again in a little bit. I have to start running my IV fluids, and then I'm gonna nebulize, and I will record again later when I am doing my shot. And actually I might just record me setting up my IV fluids. I might as well. Yeah, so super grateful to be home and feeling a little bit better. Ooh, it was a rough ride this week, y'all. So yeah, I'm gonna just get my supplies, and I will see you guys in a minute. Heparin before my IVs, but because I have the blood clot, I'm using heparin before and after. Usually I just use saline before and after, and then heparin after. But heparin helps with the blood clot, so. Shots every 12 hours for my blood clot, and I'm just going to take this off because it's going to be easier to see that way. So I have my little sharps container, which is where I dispose of the needle or the shot afterwards. My home health company collects these once they're full. And they're the ones that provide it to me. And of course I have the Lovenox shot and my little sterile alcohol pad. So I've been doing them at 7 p.m. and then 7 a.m. I've had a little break for like a week, or at least 5 days from the shots because I was on Eliquis for a while. So this is my first shot in like a week. But before that I was doing them for like about a week. Okay. So of course I'm going to sanitize. Gotta grab a little bit of fat that I have, which is not very much. Gonna sanitize it for 20 seconds. And then I'm gonna give myself the shot at a 90-degree angle. This is what the shot looks like. I don't know if you guys could see. Okay, 1, 2, 3. But that's okay. Yes, if you're wondering, it does hurt a little bit, but it is really not that bad. I'm pretty much used to it at this point, and the pain goes away after a few minutes. A lot of the times there's bruising, but that's pretty much the worst side effect of the Lovenox shots. I'm gonna get another alcohol pad. I dropped the phone, oh my gosh. Sorry guys, I dropped the phone like a doofus. So that is how I give myself my Lovenox shot for my blood clot. I'm going to wrap up the vlog now. I'm feeling really nauseous. I'm about to take a Zofran and call it a night. I hope you guys like this day in the life. I'm sorry it was kind of all over the place because I wasn't well enough to film constantly. I hope you guys understand that the reason I haven't been putting out a lot of videos lately is because I've been going through a lot. A lot has been flared up and I've just been exhausted trying to deal with all these appointments and just dealing with my flare-ups and symptoms. So I'm really sorry. I hope you guys understand. I'm really bummed out about it. I miss making more videos. I think about it all the time. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing as well as can be. I love you to pieces. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like, subscribe, and comment. I really appreciate all the feedback and support. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.